Hi, everybody. Eve Harow on Rejuvenation on the Land of Israel Network. It is October 15th, 2017, the 25th day of Tishrei, 5778. Wow. Month of Tishrei is almost over. It has been a very busy month of holidays for the Jewish people. And so the whole month blitzed away. And now I'm facing a very interesting time period of guiding and work. But I just wanted to get this show out this morning before I get on the road. I had the opportunity last week during Chol HaMoed Sukkot, during the intermediate days of the holiday, to do a lot of guiding. So I was down in Sderot. The yeshiva of Sderot asked me to guide some people around there. They had a very special event with Ambassador David Friedman, no less, who's a graduate of the school in America that the same people, the Fendel family, who started the yeshiva here in Sderot, so they were involved there. Obviously, very, very Jewish education, very important to this family, and they have not taken a break or a breath in many, many years, had a tremendous impact on so many people, including the current ambassador from the United States to Israel, who came down and spoke, and it was really very beautiful. But in the meantime, I had a full bus, and we went around the area, saw Gaza, saw some of the issues, spoke to somebody who's an expert on the wall that Israel's now building, the underground wall to prevent the tunnels, and really learned about the area and about the fact that there are cranes everywhere and the place is popping and they don't have enough housing for everybody who wants to move down there. So yeah, I know it doesn't make any sense. Put together Hamas just a few meters away, and but we're stubborn people. We're not going anywhere. We've got enemies all around this country, but we are going to continue to have children, to put up apartments, to learn, to create. And none of it makes any sense, but none of the history of the Jewish people makes any sense anyhow. So this is just something that fits in with that. So that was one day. The next day, I was privileged to take a bus for One Israel Fund around. We went to Shomron because the entire tomb of the patriarchs, entire Marat HaMachpelah, was open for Jews that day, one of only 10 days a year that we were able to do that. Didn't get to see Yishai. He showed up only much later. They had a busy day in Shomron. But we went in and it started to rain. We had the Yoreh, the first rain of the year, which was just really special. Even before we prayed for it on the last day, on Simchat Torah, the last day of the holiday season, the day really technically after Sukkot. Anyway, so that was really beautiful day in Hebron, seeing the Pinach Hama there, the place where this man Afar, who's just an unbelievable guy, volunteers all his time to take care of the soldiers that are serving the area. We spoke to some of the soldiers, came up to Gush Etzion, to this area, saw the very powerful and moving film in Kfar Etzion about what happened here in 1948, learned a lot about the Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century and how it connects to today's Gush Etzion. All in all, really a very, very, very special day. And it just amazes me that I get to do this, that I get to take people around, just never goes away. This sense of awe that this is what Hashem has me doing. And the next day was actually down and then up. First down in the Jordan Valley, visiting the Afar farm that I've talked about not just once or twice on this show. Guy Ehrlich, and growing the biblical herbs, the tsori, the nataf, the beautiful anointing oil, the afar oil of the temple period that is now been planted again, and some of the other herbs and myrrh and frankincense, and that was just beautiful. It was a very olfactory day. Then we went over to the community of Na'amah and met with one of the old timers there, and he saw his basil and tarragon hothouses. He also grows dates. We had some of the most delicious export quality dates, medjool dates, and learned about the Jordan Valley and some of the challenges that they have there. And of course the BDS. So the boycott movement, he can't export some of his herbs to some countries because of where he is, because the Jordan Valley is considered occupied territory, and a farmer, and he doesn't consider himself religious, by the way, which, as you all know, is a term that we need to throw out. But it's just so, he's down there because of Zionism, and he thinks that it's ridiculous that he can't export the beautiful herbs and spices that he grows, but he's finding other markets and other niches, and really it's a loss for those who aren't being able to partake of what he grows. Beautiful things. And then after lunch, we went up to the foothills of the Shomron, to what's called the Alon Road, the road that skirts not the patriarchs' route in the heart of Samaria, but the road that's kind of like on the slopes, right between the desert and the Shomron. And one of the places that we went to, and this is going to be my interview that you're going to hear in a couple of minutes. We went to a place called Kochav Hashachar, literally the morning star, because it's a beautiful community that faces east. I'm familiar with it because I have a niece and nephew who live there, and it is my niece that you're going to be hearing interviewed. It's a beautiful, so I won't tell you what she does because she'll tell you what she does, but it's a beautiful community. We went to a park that a family there, the Weiberg family, built in memory of their son who died suddenly after the army. And that's what they did with their grief, is they decided to create a beautiful space for other people's children and for families in general. So they have a beautiful, beautiful garden there with one of those ecological pools that the plants filter the water, and there are fish in the water, and there were children playing in the water, and it was really amazing, and benches that are decorated with mosaics that their daughter had done, and the park was planned by another son who's an architect, and really you could see how torn they still are about the sudden death of their son. He was only 22, just finished the army, and just and really something inexplicable, but they made a choices we all have, in what to do with their grief. And while you can see that they're never going to get over it, they've decided to create something beautiful in his memory. They also put out a cookbook, a family cookbook. And then we went over to Saboneto, which is a beautiful boutique soap factory. Another family, the Keshet family, one of their sons born with Down syndrome. And so they created a factory collecting the olive oil, the olive trees grow in the area, collecting the olive oil and a lot of the herbs that grow in the area right there on the slope, and making just such beautiful soap. And like I said, it was an olfactory day, and you go in there and you see a small film, and they hire, because of what happened with their family, again, taking something that they could have felt was a burden and turning it into a gift. And so they hire people with special needs, their son and others, in the factory. And it's not just soap. Very few places in Israel are just something. So this is not just soap. It's a place where people get self-confidence and feel good about themselves and earn a living and are able to contribute. And the soap ends up being almost the byproduct of the beauty of the place. And I see that in so many places. You guys have heard me talk about that. How the wineries, the wine is delicious, but it's really about the vintner. And so many places like that in Israel, where people are doing kindness and helping society along with creating a product and making a living, which you're supposed to be doing. But you can create and also make the world a better place at the same time. And so that was really something. And my niece who lives there has also carved a niche for herself there when it comes to taking care of people. And so that is the interview that you're about to hear. Very proud of her. And I hope that you enjoy the interview as well. So take care, everybody. Have a really great week. Thanks to Tabitha and to Ben and to everybody at the network. You can write to me, eve@thelandofisrael.com. And if anything that I talk about and you want more information about it, please drop me a line. I'll send you the website, send you the contact information. And then when you come, not if you come, when you come, you'll know where to go. So let's find all those special hidden places that make the people and this country so much greater than the sum of its parts. So until next week, don't go away yet, though. We got the interview coming up. But it's Eve on the Land of Israel Network on Rejuvenation. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now. And then going on to Devorah Harow.
Who are we as a people? Who are we as a nation? What does it mean to be a Jew in the land of Israel, as a Jew in Judea? What is our message to the world? We're finally back in our land, and we get to ask these questions.
Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to make Judea and Samaria an issue for the entire world, to know that the Jews have a place in the world.
Israel Inspired with Ari Abramowitz and Jeremy Gimpel on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com.
Hi, everybody. Eve Harow, Shavua Tov, beginning of a wonderful week. Rejuvenation on the Land of Israel Network. And I am sitting with Devorah Harow. Yes, same last name as me. But just because she's one of my nieces doesn't mean that I can't have her on my radio show. A little nepotism occasionally, everybody. So, Devorah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, sure. I'm glad to be here.
So I didn't just ask you to come on the show just because I love you, but because I'm fascinated by what you're doing. Mother of 7, very busy woman, but have carved like a whole niche for yourself. So tell us a little bit about it.
So I'm a physical therapist by trade, but I learned very quickly that I worked more based on, with my skills, but on intuitive level with people, and I saw them as more than just the parts of their body that were hurting, but as the whole person. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I was looking at them holistically. And with time and opportunities that came up, I learned more therapies of the holistic nature, and I've moved into that niche more recently.
So a lot of it's very trendy now to talk about homeopathy and holistic medicine, and people who are not even taking shots because or antibiotics, so they don't believe in, traditional medicine. And I know from being married to a doctor that it's definitely a combination of things. That's what he feels. There's not one thing that works. But holistic medicine is looking at the whole person and not just saying, oh, you have a sore throat, so let's throw you this. Like, what else is going on with them? When someone comes to you and they're not feeling well, or they're feeling fine, but they want to maintain it or have more energy. So how would you deal with them? What kind of questions do you ask people?
Well, it depends on what they've come to me for. If they've come to me for cranial balance treatment, which is where we find the points of tension in their body, and we can start out perhaps with just physical work, but often what happens is we reach a certain plateau, or I'll get cues from the person that they're ready to open up about certain things, and once we go into the emotional realm, their healing comes so much faster and so much more to the source of the problem. People who don't deal with the emotional issues. I have people coming to me. I have one person who's been coming to me for 2 years because of migraine headaches, but they don't want to go into the issue. And I had someone else who came to me for 6 treatments for migraines and got over it. Wow. In those 6 treatments because she was willing to go into the deeper aspects. So with holistic therapy, we recognize that all aspects of our being are connected, and to just work with the physical or the emotional or the psychological is not looking at the whole picture. We want to look at the whole human being, their spirit, and everything involved. And when we do that, we get to faster, more efficient healing, more long-lasting healing.
So you live in Kochav Hashachar, this incredible, beautiful Jewish community in the Binyamin area and the foothills of, it's actually like kind of on the slope between the Sumerian hills and the Jordan Valley. And your view is just like over to the Jordan Valley. Do you think that that where you live has impacted what you're doing now?
It's funny that you say that, because the most frequent comment I get when people walk into the Holistic Center is that they could just sit on the couch and look out the window and they don't need a treatment, because the energy that's in the area is it has such a strong presence. People feel it immediately when they come to where we are. I mean, it happens to be the lot of land that we're in has an incredible view, and it provides such an expansive feeling, and people feel healed just from it. And it's an incredible place. The whole aspect of it, like you said, we're at the foothills of we're just on the border between the Sumerian mountains and the Judean desert. So we've got desert mountain weather. So the climate is amazing. It's dry heat, but cool at nights, and moderate climate. And we're just in the middle of nature. I mean, there are times when there's fog and you feel like Kochav Hashachar is the only place that exists, because it's such a tranquility that lives there, that exists there. And I mean, we see deer grazing in our backyard when we're washing dishes, looking out the window. It's a great place to get in touch with yourself, which is also the core of healing, is recognizing that we're a part of nature. And that's why nature has an ability to affect us so profoundly, because when we feel at one with nature, then we're able to understand ourselves better, because we are creatures of nature. And yeah, definitely, I feel that the whole atmosphere there, the environment, the fact that we're smack in the middle of this quiet, amazing quality of life nature setting definitely impacts what I've been doing there. And I feel like it was all set up ahead of time. You know, how we got that lot was totally random. And now I see it all was just pieces of a puzzle coming together to make this holistic center more powerful.
Right. Hashem wanted you to be there in some way. You know, we just finished Parshat Breshit, Genesis, right, and the creation of the world. And this is exactly what you're saying, because you're in a place that was created a long time ago when the world was created. And there are just certain conditions that were put there in this very spot. And you talk about the energies. What do you give people if someone's not feeling well and you do the holistic medicine, but do you give oils or have them do aromatherapy? What else do you do as part of your treatment? Again, I know it depends on what's wrong with somebody. Right. So let's say migraines or let's say whatever it is. Right. Well, give us an example.
So the most effective treatment I have found is a combination of everything that I've learned. I have the physical therapy background, so I can help people in terms of exercise and healthy living habits. The cranial balance is a great way to help the physical body find greater relaxation, which is the path to healing, because the more stress we have, the more tension we have, the less well we feel. So the cranial balance, and then...
What is that exactly?
Cranial balance is a soft touch therapy. That is a grandchild, basically, of osteopathy, and it is basically people just lie down, fully clothed on their back, and I check the body for areas of tension, and then through different techniques, the body basically heals itself. We release the tension points, and people get off the table feeling much more relaxed and calmer, and it helps a myriad, anything really, from chronic ailments, genetic diseases, that we've seen proven that people with genetic diseases don't have to show their symptoms if their body is not stressed.
They're not fated. The genes are not fated to turn into whatever disease it is that their father had and their grandfather had?
They can do a genetic test and it shows that they have a genetic disease, but they do not have to show symptoms if their body is kept at a healthy, non-stressed state. I've seen it happen in my clinic. It's amazing. And to back pain and migraines and, so many different types of issues. And it also helps raise awareness to our own bodies. So we heal faster and we know what we need in order to heal faster. But then there's also the flower essences. And I find that when I combine the two, that's really when potent magic happens for people, when they really find a strong healing point, because on the one hand, they're coming for that healing, for the cranial balance treatment, to receive that from the therapist, but they're also empowering themselves, because the flower essence, the way we do it is during the consult, they will choose their flower essences.
So explain that about flower essences. I know you took a whole course in this.
Yes. So I just finished, not just a year ago, I finished a 2-year degree online, and that's accredited by the BFEA in England. So it's an accredited course, and we learn it's an amazing course by Sarah Turner, and we don't just learn about the Bach essences and flower essences in the traditional sense. We learn about the chakras, and we learn about how to help people intuitively, not just, okay, well, the book says you should take this for this symptom. We really work very intuitively with people, and people, in the way I do it is I have photo cards of all the flower essences that I have, and people choose what flowers based on the pictures. And every time I will then explain to them what those flowers do, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I need in my life. Wow. And so through that process, they feel very empowered, because they are now, it's a whole intake process and a very detailed questionnaire that they fill out to find out more about themselves, but basically they're taking a very strong part in their own healing. And that's why I feel the combination of the two, that they've come out and asked someone for help, and they're receiving that help from someone else, but at the same time, they're empowering themselves to take a part in their own healing. That's when I find that they really come to amazing breakthroughs and amazing transformations.
So there's some instinct that's drawing them to exactly what they need to heal themselves.
Yeah, most of these people will come to me and say, I really needed to come to you for 6 months and I just haven't had the time, and I'll have a consult with them. And within 2 weeks, they'll be calling me and telling me that they cannot imagine how quickly the transformation happened for them. So they are self-aware. They know what they want. They're reaching out for something. They don't know what that something is. Then they come, sit down, and it works like, yeah.
And I would imagine that it also changes relationships. I mean, if somebody's under stress or they're not feeling well, constant headaches, whatever it is, they're not going to probably be relating to their spouse or their children or their boss or whomever in the way that's going to maintain a healthy relationship. So would you see that? Do you see ramifications that go way beyond the person themselves?
I have I'm getting chills just thinking about the clients and the transformations that they've had and what they've told me afterwards. Because of course, like you're saying, when someone's in pain or when someone's dealing with a chronic illness or when someone's just struggling with a certain aspect of their life, like Flower Essences mostly works with like someone who just doesn't have enough order in her life. She has a very hard time finding order. So a woman with a large family and a work and a husband, it's hard for her to live if she doesn't have those skills. She comes and the Flower Essences can help her with that area of her life. And then the ramifications are just incredible. I'll tell you 2 stories. One is a woman came to me and she said she just couldn't believe that it was from the Flower Essences, but she could only attribute it to the Flower Essences because it worked within hours, I believe, from when she took her first few doses. That's something she had been struggling with for months to talk about. She didn't tell me all the details, but it sounded like something that she was trying to work out with her spouse. And she just couldn't get over a certain hump. And once she took the essences, she was able to just talk about everything freely and openly and in a healthy way. And she felt so, there was light just shining in her eyes and she felt so empowered. And you could see that it was going to affect her life tremendously because if there's a stress between spouses that can't be talked about, it affects everything that's going on in the house. And another story is a woman who came to me after she was just finding out that cancer had come back. And she basically wanted to be able to have a healthy perspective on how to deal. Should she accept more treatments that might prolong things, to give her more life, but not necessarily quality? Or should she just, surrender to the fact that this was it? And we didn't realize what the path was going to be because this only just started when she came to me. She just came to me to feel better and stronger. But then once this all came out and she got her diagnosis, and it was an extremely, extremely powerful treatment course, healing path. And she said to me that she was able to accept what was happening to her and accept that, what the decisions that she had to make, everything about the path was just simpler because she felt at peace with who she was and what she was going through and the whole process. Wow. And that was incredible.
You help women in childbirth?
That is a niche I would love to go into.
From 2 to 3 in the morning when you have a spare time.
Yeah. Right. So right now that doesn't really work with my own commitments at home. But I have helped someone who had previously four, I believe, very difficult labors. And I helped induce her labor. And she said that I gave her essences to take. She came to me, she was having contractions. When she left, a few hours later, she went to the hospital. 2 people, actually, that this happened to. And they had essences with them. And they said that their births were faster and they were more present and they were more in touch with their body. And things just went much more smoothly.
So do you make the flower essences yourself? Tell us a little bit about that. What does that mean? You sniff like roses? What's going on?
Okay, so the way that the flower essences science has been brought back into the modern times by Dr. Bach, who was a doctor of traditional medicine who worked in England and saw that he intuited, he recognized that flowers and trees and plants have such amazing power, and he brought back the ancient healing tool of flower essences. And basically what we do is there are a couple of methods, but the most popular method is to take a flower and take a couple of clippings of the flower, take a couple of the flowers, put it in a bowl of water, and then it sits in the sun for a few hours. And that helps imprint. There's a Japanese doctor who, Emoto, I don't remember his first name, but you can look it up online. It's incredible, the pictures that he has of water. Water absorbs the energy of it imprints the energy of things around it. So he did tests, research, and he played jazz music, and he played heavy metal, and he played Beethoven. And he took the water that he played each music to and froze it, and then studied the crystals. And the crystals from Beethoven were beautifully formed crystals. And the water from the rap and the heavy metal was this deformed looking, awful, and it's incredible. So basically that just shows how the water can imprint. And it's also a Jewish notion that you don't leave water out overnight because it can absorb bad energies and whatever. So you don't leave water uncovered. So basically the energy of the plant gets imprinted in the water. Then you take the flower or, well, if it's a tree, it's a different story, but you take the pieces of the plant out of the water, and then we put it in a bottle of brandy, like in a amber bottle to protect it from the sun, with a little bit of brandy just to protect it and to keep it from spoiling. And that's the flower essence. I mean, then it goes through some dilutions before we actually take it.
People drink it, or they put it on their bodies?
So you can either take it orally. You can just drink some drops, or you can put it in skin cream, face cream. I love doing that. It's just like a whole body experience of healing. You can put it in a mister and mist a room. If there's a room that has like a negative energy, or it's been very cluttered and you're cleaning it out and you want to just clear out all that energy, you can use it in a bowl of water if you want the whole family to benefit. But people don't necessarily want to take anything, or you don't want to start with that. You just put a bowl of water in the middle of the kitchen table, and everyone from the family can benefit and feel the energy. And it's important to understand, though, that it's not just, I'll just see a flower and then decide, okay, I'm going to make an essence. The more attuned you become with nature, the more you recognize, and everyone feels this, just not everyone recognizes the sensitivity of the communication. But we're all drawn to certain flowers and trees. And you might not even notice it, but there are certain trees that you take notice of, whereas other trees you don't take notice of. And there are certain flowers that when you pass by them, you're like, wow, that's beautiful. And you want to stop and smell it and look at it. And other flowers that you don't even notice when you walk by. And the point is that every flower, plant, tree has a certain energy that it has been brought to this world. It says it in this week's Torah, in the Torah portion, that everything in this world was created for man's benefit. So I always thought, okay, flowers are just to make the landscape prettier and smell nice. And trees obviously have their, the shade and the wood and everything that we get from trees and the fruit. But it's not just that. There's healing power in each of these plants. Like there's a tree that's growing. I've seen it here where we are for this weekend, but also in my house, there's an amazing tree that offers wisdom. And basically when you sit underneath it, you're overwhelmed with this feeling of like an old wise sage sitting there with his hand over your shoulder, telling you you have all the answers inside you.
Which tree is this?
It's called the Chinese flame tree. I don't remember what it's called in Hebrew, but it's a Chinese flame tree. And you just sit underneath it, and people we have a swing under there. My kids love sitting underneath it. And I ran a workshop a few weeks ago, and the women just wanted to stay there. They didn't want to move on to the next plant because the feeling is just such a comforting one. And it really is true that we have all the wisdom and the answers to everything that we need inside of us. It just sometimes we don't know to ask the questions, and sometimes we don't know to read the answers, or the answer isn't what we want. And so this tree helps us understand, that the answers are really there. It opens our eyes to what's already inside of us that we need to know.
Wow, maybe that's the real tree of wisdom that we talked about in the Garden of Eden. Yeah. Like these things are not just stories. We're getting hints and clues from the Bible all the time that we have to just look around and appreciate Hashem's world.
Yeah, no, it's really incredible. And there's a flower that grows wild. I've lived in Kochav Hashachar for 16 and a half years. And 3 summers ago, I was walking on a day that I was going for a medical procedure that was extremely nerve-wracking for me. And for the first time, after living there for 13 years, I noticed a blue wildflower growing. And I brought it home with me because I felt like, wow, there's some power here. And I left one flower in water at home making flower essence, and I took one with me in my bag to be with me during the treatment. And that flower symbolizes hope and recognizing that everything that happens says, what is hope? It's understanding that everything that really happens is really for a good reason. It's for a greater good. So there's always hope in everything, because we only have to recognize that it's all for a greater good and recognize that all is for the best. So there is always hope. And that's what that flower was for me that day. And wow. I just kept it in my bag, and it just kept reminding me all is well and stay calm, all is well. And it was. Yeah, thank God.
So if people want to follow you, if they want to get in touch with you, tell them how to do it.
Okay, so I have a website, beitroga.com. We're in the middle of BEITROGA.com. We're in the middle of updating it because a lot's been changing and going on, but my flower essence range is available there to look at and to buy. And my contact information is there. I used to blog, and all of my archives are there, and I highly recommend. It's really great reading. The Calm Mommy Blogger, that was my blog that I had running for 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And now I do more live streams on Facebook, and you can follow me at facebook.com/Beit Roga, BEITROGA. And that's my Beit Roga Wellness Center page. And that's how you can reach me. Also, beitroga@gmail.com.
Devorah Harow, so proud of you. No, really, because I see what you've done. You've just connected and helped so many people. And it's really something else. Really beautiful to see.
I feel like I just followed the path that God laid out for me. I mean, I was working in a clinic as a physical therapist, and I wanted to go into private practice. And I had started working on the side privately, but I was not happy there. But God basically made it so that it was miserable. He made the conditions so bad that I had to get out. So he really pushed me along this path. He and my husband are the one. I've had the dreams, but they've pushed me along and facilitated. I mean, Beit Roga was a dream I had, and I figured, okay, 5 years, 10 years, 9 months later, it was built.
Wow, born.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone kept saying, oh, it's like a pregnancy. It was exactly like a pregnancy. And it was really my husband who kept saying, okay, let's keep moving. Let's, put the plans on paper. Okay, let's go, talk to a contractor. And all the pieces just fell into place like magic. It's amazing when you dream and you are aligned with what your dream is, and you make yourself into a conduit of recognizing that this is your dream for a reason, that God made you had this dream because you're the one that can fulfill it in this world, and you just open yourself up to that. God just laid out all the pieces. It was it was so easy to do it because it was a lot. It was a huge project, but it was easy and fun the whole time. It was amazing.
Yeah, I feel that too. Once you're on the path that he wants you on, then he makes things happen. Yeah, rolls big boulders out of the way and just lightens it up. It's so true. Okay, Devorah Harow, thank you so much. I know you have to get back to a lot of people who are clamoring for you, but I really appreciate you taking the time. Okay, all right.
Thank you.